Ah, fuck. So the thing with this.
Yeah. So the thing with my stream here is saying the underground notes particularly, right? Because obviously like the intelligence is increasing to a point where it's like there's a compound effect, right? And if you don't intuitively understand the compound effect, which you could, right, within your academics could give you your subjective understanding of a compound effect, right? And in this intuitive, I guess, perspective of the compound effect is saying the underground notes could lead to a bunch of different things, right? So those things, they have their own compound effect, right? Respectively. Because obviously the lower mind of the academics, they want to compare and compete for nothing, right? You want to compete for shit. You want to compete for some shit that no one really gives a fuck about. And it's ironic for me to fucking say that, right? Because for me to recognize how people don't artificially give a fuck, I don't give a fuck on a whole different level. You guys pretend you don't give a fuck, yet you kind of do give a fuck since you're tuning in. And y'all saying you don't give a fuck, and you're peeping me while I don't give a fuck, and you're peeping me while I don't give a fuck. What does that mean? It's like, I thought you didn't give a fuck. So why would you judge me? You know, why would you criticize me when you're saying you supposedly don't give a fuck? But if you're criticizing, that means you give a fuck. While ironically, I'm not giving a fuck. So who gives a fuck while you're saying you give a fuck? So my intelligence, it's on a different level, right? Because you're saying you don't give a fuck, but you're peeping game, you're criticizing, and you're seeing how I don't give a fuck, and I'm proving how I don't give a fuck. And I really don't give a fuck about your fake I don't give a fuck. That's the point of what I'm saying. So what am I even trying to say even on some other underground notes? The other underground notes is saying a bunch of shit. The underground notes is saying I could have more structured songs, and from those structured songs I could have a structured concert, right? And I'm just coming back on here just to be raw and just to see where I left off. And if I do rap, it's not that big of a deal, you know. But my approach is like it's different in the style of the signature, meaning that I've accumulated too much raw material for it to then like slowly and within the matrix's weird transformational protocols, seemingly painfully, I have to then take, you know, a lot of potential songs to then structure them, right? So now I got to structure a lot of songs, and the underground notes and that compound effect is saying there's more songs, there's more structured songs to be made, right? And from those structured songs that are to be made, you know, a whole different like experience and setting could happen, right? From a different type of preparation, right? So from that preparation, I'm just kind of like saying like there's more songs to be made. But it's like the lack of structure within the matrix journey of myself is kind of like it's kind of tethered to some false matrix protocol stuff within respectively across the whole roundabout of it, right? So let me pause for like 5 seconds and think about a certain note that I put in my phone. And the certain note that I put in my phone is saying that that there's a different project, hopefully in some type of balance of newness could make it like so we could like transcend the distortion, right? And this project will inspire something globally because we're transcending distortion in the reality itself, right? So all of your regurgitated spiritual teachers operating on the old system, it's low-key sickening. And that's just my honest perspective. And hopefully on a higher balanced roundtable, maybe it might be likely that I might be verified to be right because my intelligence is that just like particular, right, with it, right? So I might put this private because I just wanted to like close the last one. So I'm gonna put this one private. But if I do, it doesn't really matter if I put it private or not. I'm just trying to make one more good song. And everyone can, and you know, shout out to music, right? Music is keeping us all going, right? Like if there was no music in the background, then obviously the vibe would be slightly not as heightened, right? So the different music is the music of the cosmos and the celestial spheres. It's on mute to the individual human in the artificial matrix. Not good, not bad, but it could be. Because the music never stops. The music never stops. Even though we stop, we need rest. We need to charge. We need to go to sleep, right? We need to recharge, right? The music never stops, right? So since the music never stops, we could support and respect the thing that's preserving the music to be a thing or not. And if we don't, that's why the whole reincarnation samsara thing exists. It exists because what are you ultimately resonating with out of balance? Now, there's people aside from your demonic matrix self, there's people actually experiencing heaven and hell per some weird matrix system, right? So per that weird matrix system, aside from the temporality of this human life, your career, the 10 years time span, the 5 years time span, the next 1 year, the last 1 year, whatever, you know, the next just the roundabout of time, there's something that transcends even that, right? And it's the pure spirituality of some eternal shit. And artificial gods are sketch because they don't want to admit that they depend on that, and they'll do sketch shit to get that, and they'll simultaneously be, you know, I guess a boss and not a boss because they're just doing some shit from the old system, right? Because God sees everything, right? So if God sees everything and you're trying to shit on God, good luck. Have the best life ever, dumbass. And obviously life is an experiment. Life is testing. Life is testing us, and we're testing. We could be not good, not bad. We could just be in a weird context testing life. So we could be testing life weirdly just because that's just the weird 3D matrix shit, right? Because your weird stuff is subjective, right? Your weird stuff is not my weird stuff, right? So that's why, you know, certain, I guess, shifting balance gods are updating policies beyond Switzerland policy bullshit. Why do I say it like that? Because there's a different spiritual intelligence stream that's actually doing that, aside from your fleeting inflated rhetoric of it, right? So that's why there's like, that's why I come back how I come back, because this shit is distorted.